DJ Moore, Darnell Wright, Tyreek Stevenson, Caleb Williams, Torrey Taylor, and a 2025 second-round draft pick became 2 wins, 16 losses, and a lackluster, albeit short, starting quarterback tenure for Bryce Young. It's more than a tire take at this point, with people constantly beating a dead horse, talking about how the Bears fleeced the Panthers in this trade, with Bryce having a poor start to his career regardless if it's his fault or not, leading him to be benched after 2 games into year 2. So trade package aside, how valid are these conversations and the decision to have him benched? Well, firstly, context is needed. When looking back in history with QBs drafted highly, we always hear about the success stories of guys having a great start in their rookie years, team success aside, like CJ Stroud, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow prior to his injury, Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield being the most obvious since 2018. We rarely hear about the QBs that struggled early, as nowadays in the league, teams, coaches and the front office demand results from day one, and as they should, as they all have their jobs on the line. But as Peyton Manning recently said on Bussin' with the Boys, what happens to the days where you let the QB learn to fight through adversity and to try right their wrongs? It happened numerous times throughout history, with it most recently happening with Trevor Lawrence being in a terrible situation with Urban Meyer and the disaster his first year was, to flipping the general consensus on himself with a fantastic play year 2 under Doug Peterson. Also with Josh Allen, who was an extremely raw prospect with iffy accuracy that needed a lot of work, and he became a top 3 quarterback thanks to his own work and the patience and time under Sean McDermott and Brian Dable. And Jared Goff, whom the Rams traded the farm for, similar to Bryce, he wasn't ready day one, and when he did play his rookie year, he looked like he didn't belong. But once Sean McVay was brought in, he became a Super Bowl starting quarterback. So the obvious factor here is patience, coaching, and the right situation. And 18 games, 2 head coaches, 3 different offenses, and easily the worst run organization and situation in football isn't ideal for any quarterback, let alone an undersized rookie quarterback with all the expectations in the world. Now, it can't be left unsaid about how good or bad Bryce truly was his rookie year. 2,877 yards, 11 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and a 59.8 completion percentage, and among the 17 quarterbacks drafted first in 2001, in each of those categories he ranked 7th in completion percentage, 9th in passing yards, 11th in touchdowns, and 12th in interceptions. Now, with some of those stats in comparison to others, you've got to take into account 9 of these quarterbacks didn't play a full season, so this can make these rankings in favor of Bryce. But when looking at his rookie year in comparison to the other number 1 picks, Bryce was sacked, hurried, hit, and pressured more than any other rookie, excluding David Carr. And considering his frame, the fact he only missed 1 game shows he can take the punishment that NFL defenses hand out during a season. But with that said, is Bryce free of any criticism? No, but of course you got to acknowledge how dysfunctional the Panthers organization is, with arguably the worst owner, David Tepper, who tries to be hands-on with everything without a lick of knowledge about how things should be running. Frank Reich calling 7-step drops and trying to be extra conservative, essentially neutering Bryce by not letting him play his style, using his legs on bootlegs, and the offensive line being a revolving door on the field and off the field with the amount of different guys they had playing on the line. And simply put, those stats and rankings among QBs drafted first since 2001 doesn't tell the full story, as he hasn't really shown much on the field and tends to look like he lacks confidence, can seem lost, and simply just rushes things. And that's where Canales is there to help. Whether you like him as a play caller or not, part of why Dave was a good hire is that he inspires belief and tries to build confidence in his guys, and that's what his team desperately needs. So, is it time to give up on Bryce? Absolutely not. I think that regardless of what happened his rookie year, you got to at least give him a full season under Canales to let him show if he truly has anything. There's been so much invested to him as a player that benching him after 18 career games and before he gets a second full season under his belt, considering this is his 3rd offense he's had to run in these career 18 games, that is a massive failure, but very typical for an organization that has had essentially no success at quarterback in its entire history, excluding the time they had Cam Newton and Jake Delhomme. Even if Bryce doesn't show much this season, I still don't see the point in replacing him. What are these meaningless potential wins going to do for a team that desperately needs young talent? So what, if Andy Dalton comes in and wins you 4 games, what does it achieve other than a temporary morale boost and a worse draft pick? Bryce clearly lacked confidence, and benching him just to bring him back if Andy plays bad or God forbid gets injured would have his confidence even worse, so I really don't get it. If he manages to show he's worth keeping, then that's a win. But if he doesn't and ends up continuing with the poor play, at least they have their 1st round pick this year. Regardless, you'll be putting another quarterback in the same exact situation Bryce is in. I know Panthers fans desperately want their team to be good, and maybe Andy does have the ability to do that. But the reality is, as long as Tep is around, they're unfortunately cooked unless Jesus himself comes to play quarterback. The season feels dead in the water already, and the fan base's morale is in the gutter. But Andy Dalton isn't winning you a Super Bowl. So while you have Bryce, a former Heisman winner, mind you, just let him try figure things out. And if he doesn't, just on to the next one.